Okay, Leela number 4, which is not in the chronological order. This happened, I think, about 1995, and the reason I'm covering this one is because it was very significant because it was the first time I saw beloved Atida Samraj. First time. After 9 years of being a devotee practicing in UK. So I remember I was what I think they call 1.1 demonstrating student, and I was on retreat at the Mountain of Attention. I was the only person that was that designation in that place at that time, so I was basically kind of on my own on the retreat. However, there were a group of retreatants at what they call 1.2, and they were regularly receiving darshan from beloved Adidas Samraj at the Mountain of Attention. And so this is how it worked out. I was pulled into their group for the sake of a devotional meeting, group meeting, because there's nobody else that could sort of team up with me, if you see what I mean. So I was put into this other group, 1.2s, and we're sitting in the front room of the hotel, huge helper hotel, and we're sitting there, and suddenly somebody calls out, "Beloved is coming. He's coming out of the manor of flowers. He's coming out." And the and all the retreatants should run to receive darshan. So, in that classic situation, I just jumped up with all the rest and I ran out, and I was the first one out. And I got to the part of the lawn that's in front of Seventh Gate Shrine. I got there first, and Beloved was already coming out. So this is the first time ever I saw him. So he's coming out, and I'm running towards him, and I'm in front of everybody else. And then I felt like I hit an invisible wall about 15 feet away from him, and I went straight to the ground in full prostration. And then I sat up, and by the time I sat up, the other people had come around and were all together in the line. And then I think he then quite quickly gestured to move over to his right, which was more central in front of the Seventh Gate Shrine, that central part. So I think we all shifted across a little bit. And then I remember looking at him with my hands like this, and suddenly I was aware that he was looking at me, but with this expression of extreme fear and anxiety. He looked like I suddenly realized me. I was doing that, but he was mysteriously, perfectly reflecting me to me. So I suddenly saw that, and the recognition of it, of course, spontaneously and by grace, was given to see that that's what I was being. And as I saw that, suddenly I went into a backwards, they call it the crab, some yogic posture. I've never ever done it before or since, but I went into this backwards crab as I felt this sudden movement in myself. A few seconds, and then I kind of came back up to it, like put my hands up again, and at that point he kind of walked off. So you cannot quantify the importance of that meeting to my understanding of what's going on with this practice. And it's a common mistake, I think, that people unnecessarily complicate what's going on with your master. It is about that recognition as your own self. There's a tremendous amount of attention on not that. That's all my experience of it. And I understand that is the only valuable thing, is this recognition of the self-contraction as your own action, not even as somebody else's, apparent else's action. If we all just did that, there'd be a hell of a lot more progress and openness and much less conflict and time wasting. So, again, I'm just incredibly grateful that I received that kind of recognition by Grace. Funnily enough, after he walked off towards the bathhouse, James Steinberg came running back. He'd been near him, and he said the words, "Beloved is very upset that some people are not qualified to be in this group." And I was the only 1.1, everybody else is 1.2. So it was like you shouldn't have been there, But there's something about that which I really, really, it's figured a lot in my practice, that I shouldn't really be there, It's like a sneak. But who knows, I felt absolutely fine to have been there, and that maybe he in some sense was joking or goading me, Either way, it has been a feature, I have to say. And then later that same day, Beloved came back from the bathhouse, and we were all called to stand along the path from the bathhouse back to the manor. And there were quite a few people there then, and it started to rain a little bit. And I remember that I was so geared up to make my confession to him at the next opportunity. So he came out and he was walking down the path, and just before that, somebody behind me was saying things like, "Oh, I can't see properly," and "Oh, it's raining as well," And I was in a completely different state, and I just said, "Get wet," because for me this is the moment of my life to confess to my guru face to face. So anyway, he came up the path, and when he was about 10 feet away, beyond my self-control, I just shouted, "Beloved!" Not even a reaction at all. I shouted again, "Beloved!" And I virtually stepped in front of the pathway, and he's coming up, and I said, "I give my life to you." And he absolutely didn't bat an eyelid, not even anything. But I had said it to him, and that was my intention, that was my purpose. So again, for me, that's completely served my sense of what I have to do, because it was an oath to his face. So I know there's a lot of thing about writing your oath and making it, that I understand it, but that was my oath. That was it. So I'm held by that, by my willingness, my free choice to commit myself to him. So yeah, that's the end of that Leela, I think.